outside the public service to people working for private contracts doing work on government jobs.
With the honourable member, what we'll do is we'll come back with 2 minutes after, and he can wrap up then, and then it'll kind of be a bit quieter in the House, I'm sure, and it'll be a little bit more conducive to questions. Statements by members, déclaration de député. L'honorable député de...
Honourable member for Joliette. Mr. Speaker, never has Quebec been so weak as in this government. Quebec asked for time to legalize cannabis. Ottawa said no. Quebec wants its fair share of shipyard contracts. Ottawa said no. Quebec said tax Netflix. Ottawa says no. Quebec asked to maintain the ban on knives on planes. Ottawa said no. Quebec has a Religious Neutrality Act. Ottawa wants to challenge it. The Quebecers' interests are always sacrificed, and the 40 Liberal members kowtowed to Canada. So the only interests that count are those of Liberal cronies. The cronies at Morneau Chapelle, KPMG, and Bay Street cronies as well. Those who hide their money in tax havens and who hold $1,500 dinners with the Prime Minister. They're turning their back on our cultural community, our small businesses, our farmers, our foresters. The record of this government is the same old Liberal Party, but with a Quebec that is weaker than ever.
The honourable member for Guelph.
Mr. Speaker, as many of the members of this House may be aware, a blood donation is known to be a life-saving gift. That's why I'm thrilled to share that just recently I gave my 100th blood donation at Canadian Blood Services in Guelph.
Here, here.
I was honored to be joined by members of the Guelph community who also gave blood, and Ward 1 Studios who recorded the big day. Their fantastic video is on my Facebook page, and I encourage everyone to check it out. You may have noticed that I rose in the House with a new red lapel pin to mark my 100th donation. I challenge my honourable members to get one too. In this season of charity, I encourage all Canadians to consider donating blood and giving the gift of life. It's easy. Simply call 1-800 or 1-888-2DONATE or visit blood.ca to book an appointment. Remember, it's in us to give, and we have the power to save a life. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Red Deer Mountain View.
On Friday, December 9th, my wife Judy and I were honored to attend the Ray Rex Seidler Appreciation Night in Delbert as Ray's community showed its gratitude for his 31 years of service. Both my professional career as a teacher and my lifelong political journey were forged from Ray's example, advice, and mentorship. This is something I will always cherish. I've long admired Ray's skill at listening to those searching for a community voice, creating a strong business environment in his community so that social issues could be realized, and working within a budget as mayor so that tax dollars were respected. On behalf of the Delburn community, Central Alberta, and indeed a grateful nation, I want to thank Ray Rex Seidler for his 31 years of community service. I also want to thank his wife Sheila for her service as a supportive partner of this hardworking and dedicated politician, a calling that is seldom recognized. And lastly, from the Dreeshen family to the Rex Seidler family, thank you for being our friends.
The honourable member for Mayor Miramichi-Grand Lake. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Yvon Durel, who was also known as the Fighting Fisherman, was born in a small Acadian fishing village called Baie-Sainte-Anne in my riding of Miramichi-Grand Lake. Like many men of his generation, he left school at a young age to work on fishing boats. But he developed a love for boxing, and he quickly acquired a reputation of one of the toughest men with a big punch.
Canadian Middleweight Championship in 1953, Durel defeated opponents throughout Canada, the US, and Europe. Then came what was known as one of the most memorable fights in boxing history, as he battled the great Archie Moore at the Montreal Forum in December '58. Boxing experts agree Durel was robbed of the world light heavyweight that evening, but he gained the admiration of the boxing world and became a Canadian legend. I invite everyone to look up the fight and judge for yourselves. Yvon passed away in 2007, but his memory and story of perseverance lives on as a billboard in the of the Fighting Fisherman welcomes everyone entering the community of Baie-Sainte-Anne. Thank you, Mr. President.
Member for Kootenay, Columbia.
Mr. Speaker, the proposed government changes to pensions as laid out in Bill C-27 will allow defined benefit plans in federally regulated businesses to be converted to target benefit plans. In other words, the financial risk will be shifted from employers to workers. These changes represent a serious risk to the retirement security of Canadians, and the proposal was met with an outcry of opposition from my riding of Kootenay, Columbia, and from across Canada. As one of my constituents said, it is important for Canadians to have security in retirement because poverty in retirement creates a myriad of social problems. The NDP presented a motion calling on the Liberals to withdraw this attack on Canadian pensions, but to no avail. At this special time of year filled with peace, joy and love, the best present the Liberal government could give Canadians is to take Bill C-27, put it in a box, and return it to the Minister of Finance, stamp bah humbug, return to sender, no postage, retire.
Député de Rivière-des-Marais.
Honourable Member for Rivière-des-Mille. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to commemorate the 180th anniversary of the Battle of Saint-Eustache. On December 14, 1837, in the midst of the fighting of the 1837-38 rebellion, cannons and gunshots rang out in Saint-Eustache. Today, we can still see the ruins and marks of this battle on the front of the Saint-Eustache Church, and we must remember the demands of the Patriots. Their demands were many, Mr. Speaker, and their impact is still felt today, having marked our parliamentary political system. They called for responsible government. They called for fair representation between Upper and Lower Canada. And so I urge all my colleagues to commemorate a page of history that forged the Canada of today as we wrap up the celebrations around the 150th anniversary of Confederation. Merry Christmas to all my colleagues. And have a happy holiday, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Cypress Hills, Grasslands.
Mr. Speaker, this past weekend we reflected on the status of global human rights. Human Rights Day was established in 1948 in the shadow of the Second World War and commemorates the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The Declaration sets an international standard for fundamental rights, and events of 2017 have reminded us that these are far from guaranteed for countless people around the world. In Myanmar, violent ethnic persecution has forced hundreds of thousands of Rohingya to flee to Bangladesh with little hope for a safe return. Their crime? Nothing more than their identity. Throughout 2017, members of the House of Commons Subcommittee on Human Rights have studied the genocide faced by Christians and Yazidis, human rights violations in Burundi, South Sudan, Latin America, and Somalia, as well as the disturbing trends of human trafficking and child slavery. Mr. Speaker, these atrocities and many others cannot be pushed aside with the new year. Canadians' leadership is needed now more than ever.
The Honourable Member for Toronto Danforth.
Mr. Speaker, les nuits deviennent...
The nights are getting longer as the winter solstice approaches. But this evening, many of our homes will be lit up because the Jewish community is beginning to celebrate Hanukkah.
Or is one of my favorite holiday traditions. Especially they drag out my grandmother's old menorah that still plays Rock of Ages on its music box. But my favorite part of the holiday is food. And Hanukkah is the best because it's about deep-fried food, like latkes and donuts. À chaque année.
Each year in December, but only in December, I get out my deep fryer and I prepare delicious food. And then I put it away on January 1st. But I'm already hoping for Hanukkah to come around again quickly.
And get ready to make donuts. I'm asking everyone here for some help. Please send me your best donut recipes. You can send them on Facebook or Instagram, but for the next week, I will be at my deep fryer making donuts.
Bravo.
Thank you.
I can feel the weight being added just listening to that. The Honourable Member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. Speaker,
you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Je me lève
I rise today to commemorate two young business people in my riding of Vaughan Woodbridge.
ages 12 and 8 had the determination to take the shot of a lifetime. Through their passion for hockey, the two brothers developed the H2 hockey straps. For
Canadians, hockey is more than a sport, it's a way of life.
For those of us who have played the game, we know the nightmare of using hockey tape. David and Adam brought their original idea, replacing it with Velcro, to CBC's Dragon's Den, impressing the Dragons and making our entire community proud. David and Adam.
Congratulations for your success.
It was to score a deal, and boys, you scored big. Mr. Speaker, colleagues, and fellow hockey lovers across this land, please join me in recognizing these innovative young entrepreneurs from my riding of Vaughan Woodbridge. Merry Christmas, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, I was encouraged to hear that the BC government has decided to go ahead with the construction of the Site C Dam. Located in my riding and just outside my hometown of Fort St. John, this important project will have a positive impact on our local economy through the jobs created, the growth of our local businesses, and the overall sense of confidence in our community. This is a project that was initiated by the BC Liberal government and in 2014 was approved by the Federal Environmental Assessment process following the consultation based on scientific evidence. BC Hydro was provided with over 80 conditions to be met over the course of the project. I've personally been asked by many residents about the future of Site C, and I'm happy to say that this project has been given the green light and will now continue. I, along with my Senate colleague Richard Neufeld, join with them in congratulating British Columbians and all Canadians on the continuation of this environmentally sustainable green energy project. And at this time, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to wish you and all residents of Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies a very Merry Christmas.
The Honourable Member for Brampton West.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to bring attention of this House to the tragedy occurring in Libya. Recent reports have cast a light on this issue of desperate migrants from Africa being forced into the slave trade. In 2017, that is unacceptable, Mr. Speaker. I join our Prime Minister and many leaders across the world in condemning these horrific atrocities. We must always remember the painful lessons learned in our past so that we may never repeat them. Slavery of innocent men, women, and children is happening as we speak, and we cannot remain quiet in the face of this great injustice. I support the United Nations call for investigation into these allegations, and it is my hope that those responsible will be brought to justice. I call upon my colleagues to join me in denouncing these violations of human rights. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Davenport.
Mr. Speaker, to celebrate Canada's 150th anniversary, I had the extreme honor of awarding leadership prizes to people from Davenport. These exceptional people spared no effort over the years to make Davenport a better all-round community.
Honourable Jean Augustine for attending and giving an inspirational speech on leadership, and also want to thank the first ever Davenport Canada 150 Award recipients. They are Michelle Gay, John Patrick Keating, Spiro Comoduros, Diane Marie, Dave Meslin, Matteo Severino, Giuseppe Simonetta, Margaret Smith, Enzo Tironi, Florence Watts, Matthew Correa, Selena De Mello, Angela De Mesquita, Steve DeCantel, Fernando De Costa, and Jack Eustachio. Thank you for all that you've done to make Davenport a truly unique community, and in turn Canada a better country. Merci à vous.
Thank you to all of you for having made Davenport a truly unique community.
Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
This week, the Yazidi people will observe Eza Rojiet Az. This is a 3-day fast that all Yazidis are expected to observe. Fasting occurs from dawn till sunset, and the nights are given to family and time in prayer. This is a time for Yazidis to connect with the divine, celebrate, and spend time with families and friends. During this time, Yazidis will also give back to those who are less fortunate, and I'm told will spend time reflecting on their many blessings. To acknowledge that the Yazidi community has been through much in the last 3 years does not do justice to the atrocities that have been committed against them and that are ongoing. However, it is in defiance of their oppressors that many Yazidis will celebrate the feast this year. I've been told that this year it will be celebrated as a declaration that the Yazidi people have not and will not be defeated. In this, I ask all Canadians to share this message and to stand behind the Yazidi community in solidarity and love as they mark this feast.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Member for Willowdale.
Mr. Speaker, this past weekend, the international community marked two solemn events: the International Day of Commemoration of the Victims of the Crime of Genocide and UN Human Rights Day. Both occasions serve to underscore the entrenchment and advancement of global norms and laws regarding human rights, human security, and human dignity, a process Canada has always stood at the forefront of. As chair of the All-Party Group for the Prevention of Genocide and Other Crimes Against Humanity, I urge all members to join me in marking these twin occasions by celebrating the important strides we have made, while also recognizing that important work remains to be done to safeguard human rights across the globe. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Abitibi-Bay James Nunavut AU.
It is perhaps fitting, Mr. Speaker, that I rise today to share the beauty of winter in Abitibi-Bay James Nunavut AU. As the snow falls, even though the winds howl sometimes, an extended silent calm comes to USG. For us, as we say in Cree, Baboon is a time to listen and learn from our wise people and from the strength of our forest. We move inwards towards warmth and family and friends. We share generously so that everyone can be well. We reflect. Mr. Speaker, needless to say that we eat a lot of good wild meat and fish. Mr. Speaker, this winter, I hope that everyone enjoys Bibon like we do. Honourable
Member for Carlton Trail, Eagle Creek.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to congratulate Rosemary Falk, the incoming member for Battleford's Lloydminster on her by-election win. Her win was momentous. 7 out of 10 voters cast their ballot for Rosemary to be their new representative in Ottawa. Saskatchewan sent this Prime Minister a clear message last night. They want no part of his carbon tax, nor do they support his agenda of higher taxes and out-of-control spending. Saskatchewan has no way benefited from the leadership of this Prime Minister. And the incoming member for Battleford's Lloydminster is excited to join the fight for hardworking Canadians who are fed up of having their taxes raised to pay for Liberal billion-dollar deficits. On behalf of my caucus colleagues, I congratulate all of our Conservative candidates and the campaigns they ran, delivering our positive, Conservative vision to Canadians.
Honourable Member for Cloverdale, Langley City.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday thousands of Canadians in 4 provinces turned out to take part in the democratic process and choose representatives to succeed the dedicated men and women who served before them. I congratulate all of the candidates on hard-fought campaigns and thank the countless volunteers for their tireless spirit, their energy, and their dedication to their communities. A campaign is built in no small part on the efforts and enthusiasm of volunteers. It's thanks to them that we have the privilege to serve in this place. Just like every other member of this House, I remember the passion and drive necessary to knock on doors and listen to as many constituents as humanly possible. Mr. Speaker, I have no doubt that the new members for South Surrey White Rock, Bonavista, Burin, Trinity, Scarborough, Agincourt, and Battleford's Lloydminster will each serve their constituents equally well with passion and drive, and I look forward to working with them for all Canadians.
Order. Oral questions.
Oral questions. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister went to China to undertake negotiations on free trade. However, the Chinese government had something else in mind. And yet, this comes after everything the government did to try and calm down China and allow Chinese people to come in and run companies without any security reviews. It's obvious that the Prime Minister has no credibility when it comes to China. How can Canadians trust this government so that it acts in the best interests of Canadians? The Right Honourable the Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I look forward to being able to answer questions from across the aisle. But first, what I'd like to do is congratulate the new members who will be joining us and who were elected last night.
People who stepped up across the country, put their names on ballots in the by-elections. All of us in this place know what it takes to put your name on a ballot, and I congratulate all of them and all the volunteers who underpin the strength of our democracy. Again, look forward to congratulating the 4 new members when they arrive in this House. This was a good day for Canada and a good day for our democracy.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, of course we all congratulate all of those who presented their names for by-elections, but it's interesting that the Prime Minister doesn't want to answer this question because it was so embarrassing for him to have to come home empty-handed. He insulted Japan, Australia, and other trusted Asia-Pacific partners when he didn't even bother to show up to meetings during the Trans-Pacific Partnership talks. Now, the message from our closest Asia-Pacific partners was clear. Canada has betrayed us. The Prime Minister's erratic behaviour has threatened Canadians' jobs, hurt our credibility, and again showed his incompetency on the file. So why doesn't the Prime Minister just come clean and admit that he just doesn't believe in free trade?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this government has worked very hard to get trade deals that work good for Canadians. That's exactly what we focused on in repairing the neglect they had left the CETA deal in, and managed to close the deal by putting forward progressive elements that ensured that environmental rights, labor rights, health standards be respected. That's exactly what we're moving forward with NAFTA, in ensuring that this be good for Canadian workers and small businesses. This is why we're engaged in trade negotiations towards Asia, whether it's the CPTPP, whether it's China, whether...
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Canadian workers' interests when the Prime Minister keeps coming home empty-handed. But it's being reported that in response to concerns raised by disabled veterans' wife, that the then Minister for Veterans Affairs told her that, in his view, the Liberals had no obligation to help her because it was her choice to marry her husband. This minister, in typical fashion, is now denying any responsibility and is blaming the widow for his comments. So can the Prime Minister tell us who he believes, the veteran's widow or this minister?
The Prime Minister.
Our government takes the concerns of Canadians very seriously. We've been working over the past 2 years to deliver to veterans and their families the kinds of support that they need and deserve, and that, quite frankly, they didn't get for 10 years under the Conservative government. On this issue, the minister takes these allegations seriously and has responded to them and apologized.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister continues to accumulate failure after failure and mismanagement. More than 1 year ago, he said that it was urgent to fill in a lack of capacity for fighter jets, but rather than replace these old 30-year-old fighter jets, now it's going to be buying jets that are older than 30 years old. Our military needs the equipment. What is he waiting for to do something about it? Mr. Speaker, the reality is that our military needed new fighter jets many, many years ago, and the Conservative government did not deliver the equipment that our forces needed. And that's why we have begun an open and transparent process to replace our jets. And meanwhile, we will need temporary jets in order to be able to fill our responsibilities with NATO and NORAD. That's the reality, but it's a reality that the Conservative government left us with.
It's this Prime Minister that has changed the process so many times, and it's our men and women in the armed forces who are suffering for it. Now, in 2012, Australia's Auditor General identified numerous issues with the F-18 Hornets. They will require significant structural upgrades and repairs just to see service in Canada, and it's far more likely that we'll spend billions of dollars just for spare parts. It's not just me who's questioning these decisions. Even the Australians can't understand why we're buying their old planes rather than doing what they're doing, which is buying new planes. So, if the Prime Minister is so keen on buying fixer-uppers, will he come over? Because I've got an old minivan I'd love to show him.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians know that the previous Conservative government failed over the course of 10 years to give the men and women of our armed forces the equipment necessary to be able to do their job. They so completely botched the fighter jet
Order, order. I know members are excited about used car sales, but I'd ask members to each take their turn and to listen when others have their turn, and to only speak when they have the floor. The Right Honourable Prime Minister has the floor. Order.
The Conservative government made such a mess of buying the needed fighter jets that we can no longer match our NORAD and NATO obligations, which is why we need an interim fleet replacement while we proceed to the open, transparent competition that they should have held almost a decade ago.
The Honourable Member for Rimouski-Nejet-Témiscouata-Les-Basques. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals promised an open, transparent and merit-based appointment process. Yet after having twiddled their thumbs for months, they appointed a second official languages commissioner because the first one was too partisan, a lobbying commissioner who actually wanted to apply to be privacy commissioner, and a conflict of interest and ethics commissioner who's already been strongly criticized by the Auditor General. How does the Prime Minister expect Canadians to believe that these are the best choices with a process that's so flawed? The Right Honourable the Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we established an open, merit-based process to select officers of Parliament that reflect the diversity and quality that Canadians want and have. After 10 years of partisanship, we are proud of our process and we trust in all our appointments.
Le
Premier ministre parle d'un processus ouvert, mais n'a aucune idée des critères de sélection. Il parle d'un processus transparent, mais on n'a aucune idée c'est qui le comité de sélection. Puis il nous dit en plus que c'est un processus basé sur le mérite, alors qu'on ne connaît pas les autres candidats en lice. Au bout du compte, ce qu'on fait...
In the end, the opposition order.
Je m'excuse, j'en ai répété.
I apologize, but apparently the interpretation was not coming through. Can the member please rise and start his question over again? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister talks about an open process, but we don't even know what the government's selection criteria are. He says the process is transparent. We don't even know who was on the selection committee. He talks about merit. We don't even know what the short list was. In the end, the Prime Minister is simply handing a name on a piece of paper to the opposition, a name pulled out of nowhere, and then we're supposed to comment over 7 days. That's a consultation. Will the Prime Minister be truly transparent and share with the Canadians the names of those who were on the selection committees and the short list? The Right Honourable the Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we have appointment processes that take time. We have put in place many transparent measures so that people can trust the process. We called for new appointments throughout the country in order to make sure that those who applied, whether it be for the Supreme Court, whether it be for the Senate, whether it be for officers of Parliament, that these people throughout Canada feel welcome to apply through this process, through this open process that previously was too closed.
No, Mr. Speaker, I'm beginning to suspect the Prime Minister doesn't know what the words open and transparent actually mean. The law requires the Prime Minister to meaningfully consult with the other party leaders. You know what the Liberals did? They sent us a take-it-or-leave-it letter with one name on it for a new ethics commissioner. That's not consultation. That's a sham. And you know what? Canadians are starting to worry that this Prime Minister doesn't even care. So for a Prime Minister who's actually under an ethics investigation, does he finally understand that we need a credible process to hire the watchdogs who work on behalf of all of us?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, nominating an officer of Parliament is an extremely important process that we are glad that we've engaged with the members of the opposition on. We will continue to consult and ensure that the highest quality of people come forward, are encouraged to apply to make sure that our officers of Parliament and indeed nominations across this government, whether it be senators or Supreme Court justices, reflect the full skills and diversity that this country has to offer.
Honourable Member for Skinner-Bulkley Valley.
It says engage, but then he sends us a letter that says take it or leave it. You know, New Democrats actually offered the Liberals a solution to this appointments mess, and it would actually help Liberals keep their campaign promise. And you know what Liberals did? They voted against it. So let me remind the Prime Minister of Canada one more time, these watchdogs don't work for him. They work for Parliament on behalf of all Canadians. So will he pull the names, restart the process, and finally show a little respect for this place?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's important that the officers of Parliament have the confidence of this House, and if the officers of Parliament we've appointed do not have the confidence of the New Democratic Party, let them say so.
Here, here.
Honourable member for Milton. Order. Alors, the honourable member for Milton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in 20 days, the new taxes on small business take effect. And these changes promise to have a significant impact on business, on their operations, and ultimately on their bottom line, which means in the new year, owners of businesses are going to be making the choice between raising prices for customers or laying off hard-working employees. New year, same old Liberals. With 20 days to go, will the Finance Minister stop trying to avoid the scrutiny of Parliament and finally disclose the details of his new tax?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we know how important it is for small businesses to plan. What we can say, importantly...
Alors, je demande à l'honorable...
Order. I would ask the member for Paulna-Jacques-Cartier and other members to stop heckling and interrupting. They have to wait to have the floor to be able to speak.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, we know how important it is for small businesses to plan. And what's really important is that on January 1st, they will be able to plan for a reduction in small business tax rates. 100% of small businesses in this country will have a reduction in taxes starting January 1st. Tomorrow, we are going to announce for those 3% of small businesses that split revenue to other family members, how they can do this very simply. We're looking forward to that, Mr. Speaker, but most importantly, looking forward to helping small businesses.
Honourable member for Milton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the Finance Minister originally announced these changes in the dead of summer, and here we are 6 months later, and this is the first time we're hearing when the details are going to be coming out. He said very soon in the fall. Today he's saying tomorrow. I don't know whether or not we can put actual stock in what we're going to be hearing tomorrow. First he's ruined summer, and now he's ruining Christmas for small business owners. When will the Finance Minister truly release the details of his tax plan and stop being such a Scrooge?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased to say again that 100% of small businesses will have a tax reduction starting January 1st. For those, that very small percentage, the 3% of small businesses that pass revenues to their family, of course, they can do that starting January 1st with simplified rules, and their taxes, which will be due in April 2019, I think they will have adequate time to work out. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Richmond-Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, here is what Mr. Robert Bernier said of the École nationale d'administration publique. He said, the Minister of Finance has clearly lacked in judgment. And it is this same Minister of Finance who is bringing in tax changes that will have negative consequences for our businesses and their employees. It will interfere with transfers to the next generation and hinder job creation. What is the PM waiting for to ask the Minister of Finance to leave his position? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I am very pleased to be able to say that for 100% of small and medium-sized businesses throughout the country, there will be a tax reduction for them as of the 1st of January 2018. That is very important. For the 3% of small and medium-sized businesses that sprinkle their income to family members, there will be a process to ensure that they will be able to continue throughout the new year. The Honourable Member for Richmond-Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, if the Minister of Finance were in a classroom, his semester would have been an abject failure. We are going to have these tax changes coming in on the 1st of January in a few days, and today we're learning that tomorrow businesses will be given the requisite details. Mr. Speaker, that's in a few days. These are people who are creating jobs, who work very, very hard on a daily basis. Will Canadians finally have a real Minister of Finance? Will the PM take his responsibilities and dismiss the Minister of Finance? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, as I said, in a few weeks, on the 1st of January, every small and medium-sized business in our country, 100% of them will have a tax reduction. That's very important. And for the 3% of businesses that have that split income amongst their family members, they will have the whole year and a few months more to be able to do their taxes for the following year.
Mr. Speaker, when that finance minister took office, the small business tax rate was already at 9%. He raised it back up to 10.5%, and now he expects us to congratulate him for reversing his own tax increase. But he's got another tax increase to come. He's going to bring in new rules on families that share the work and the income of their businesses. Tax court judges say it will lead to battles in courts. And how much time is he leaving them to prepare? Less than 3 weeks. While he's on a sunny island somewhere, small businesses will be scrambling over Christmas. Why?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I do think it's important to start with the facts. When we came into office, the federal tax rate on small businesses was 11%, came down to 10.5%. We're now reducing it down to 10%. So it will be lower for every small business in this country. What we're going to do tomorrow is make clear for those 3% of small businesses that are passing revenue to their family members, clear rules so they actually won't have to work with the Canada Revenue Agency. That will help them. For those number of businesses that are passing revenue to family members not in the business, that will cease in order to make our tax system more fair.
Member for Carleton.
Mr. Speaker, reality, this minister, when he first took office, took the gifts from under the small business Christmas tree. He raised the tax rate from 9%, which it was set to be at, right up to 10.5%. Now he expects us to give him a cookie because he's putting those same gifts back under the tree that he took away in the first place. Mr. Speaker, this minister has tried to raise taxes on diabetics, on people with autism, on small businesses, and now GST on his very own carbon tax. When will he stop taking so much money from the people who pay the bills in this country?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, our government is proud to talk about the reductions in taxes we've made across this country for 9 million Canadians as our first act of government. We lowered taxes on middle-class Canadians. 9 out of 10 families saw a significant change, $540, and of course $330 for an individual. Now, what's going to happen on January 1st, 2018 is every single small business in this country will get a reduction in their tax rate from 10.5% to 10%. That, Mr. Speaker, is important. The following January, it will go down again from 10% to 9%. These are efforts to make sure our tax system.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagotte. Mr. Speaker, nothing is working in Phoenix. 1 civil servant out of 2 is affected. That's half the public service. Students, retirees, families, everyone is affected. These people aren't simply statistics, Mr. Speaker. These are people who are losing their homes and who are experiencing serious financial stress. And yet, for 2 years, civil servants and unions have been condemning the system, and nothing much was done to solve this fiasco. Will it take 100% of civil servants to be affected so that this government act and find a solution? The Honourable Member for Public Services. Mr. Speaker, this is my priority. It is not acceptable that people not be paid. We are doing everything we can, and we are doing many things that the previous government never did.
Member for Regina Louvain.
Mr. Speaker, Christmas is a time to help those less fortunate, and our federal public servants traditionally give generously to charity through payroll deductions. But with the Phoenix boondoggle, federal employees are nervous to enroll for deductions that can lead to more errors. Last year, payroll deductions for charity fell significantly. The Liberals' inaction is not only affecting our public servants, it's also hurting our charities. How much has the ongoing Phoenix mess cost charities this year?
The Honourable Minister of Public Services.
Mr. Speaker, let me assure you that resolving this is my top priority. We understand the difficult position we have put public servants and their families in, and we are leaving no stone unturned to make sure that we resolve this as quickly as possible. In the meantime, public servants have access to emergency pay services, they have access to their managers, and we are doing whatever they can. Remember, Mr. Speaker, the public servants at Miramichi are working hard to resolve this for their colleagues. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Durham.
Mr. Speaker, 2 million families in Canada have jobs that rely on trade with the United States and Mexico. The Liberal priorities for NAFTA announced this summer did not even mention the auto industry, the softwood lumber industry, thousands of jobs in the agricultural sector, Mr. Speaker. These sectors were ignored completely until midway through the rounds in the fall. With NAFTA on the brink of failure, how is the government now changing their strategy to protect these jobs dependent on trade?
Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, we are not changing our strategy one iota because we entered the negotiations with a clear plan, and that plan is to defend the Canadian national interest with fact-based arguments, to defend the auto sector, to defend the natural resource sector. We are at the table this week in Washington putting forward fact-based arguments, and we will always stand for the national interest and for Canadian values. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Durham.
Mr. Speaker, the only clear plan we can see from this government is NAFTA failing. The only clear plan we see on TPP is Japan, Australia, our other countries furious with us. The only plan we see on China is a Hail Mary pass from that Prime Minister that came up many yards short, Mr. Speaker. When will the Prime Minister remove himself from Canada's trade file, get out of the way of the Minister, and start standing up for the jobs that depend on trade?
Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I am proud and privileged to work closely with our fine Prime Minister and our outstanding trade negotiators on this crucial issue. I would like to remind the member opposite that it was our government and our team that brought home CETA, the biggest trade deal Canada has done in 2 decades. We did that by working hard and by being tough where necessary, and that's the approach we're taking with NAFTA.
I've heard a lot today from a member for Abbotsford, although he hasn't had the floor, so I'd ask him to try to restrain himself. I know there are subjects that are very dear to his heart, but I know he knows the rules, and I know he'll want to contain himself despite his enthusiasm.
The honourable member for Beauport-Limoilou.
Trades in Canada, including CETA, is an accomplishment of the Conservative government.
The Liberal government is seeing failure after failure when it comes to international trade. NAFTA's falling apart. The TPP doesn't appear to be a priority. They don't even bother to show up in important meetings. And we're still waiting for a softwood lumber agreement more than 1 year after countervailing duties were levied on the industry and workers. Will the Liberals once and for all stop acting like amateurs and stand firm on these files? The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, once again, I want to underscore what our approach is to international trade, and especially to NAFTA. We have the best negotiators in the world, and I am very proud of their work. The national interest is what is most important for Canada, and at the negotiating table, we will defend our national interests and our values. Thank you.
For Niagara West.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister failed to get a deal on softwood lumber when he had a chance to with President Obama. Then he put TPP in jeopardy by failing to show up for a meeting, which was a slap in the face to our trading partners. Despite giving China free rein on purchasing Canadian companies, he still couldn't get a deal done with them. This Liberal government has made mistake after mistake on trade. How can Canadians trust this Prime Minister to protect their interests?
Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, you know why Canadians can trust us? Canadians can trust us first and foremost because Canada has the best professional negotiators in the world on trade, and I am proud to work alongside them. Canadians, give them a hand. Canadians can trust us because we are 100% committed to defending the national interest in trade negotiations
first and foremost in the NAFTA trade negotiations. And I'd like to say to the Conservatives, capitulation is not a negotiating strategy.
Order. The honourable member for Cowichan, Malahat, Langford.
The lack of communication between the Liberals and public servants on Phoenix is extremely frustrating. In my riding, I currently have about 30 open cases to resolve Phoenix issues, and someone is even owed $30,000 in back pay. Many have serious concerns with the year-end approaching, and it is especially chaotic for public service pensioners who are retiring before their pay issues are ever resolved. Will the Liberals address these glaring concerns and help Canadians suffering under this horrible system?
Honourable Minister of Public Services.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the difficult position our public service and their family is in, and we are putting in place a number of measures to help them along the way. First of all, there's emergency pay services they have access to. We're improving technology. We're working on our governance. We're improving our policies. We are taking steps that, had they been taken in the first place, Mr. Speaker, we wouldn't be in this position.
The honourable member for Saskatoon West. Order.
Mr. Speaker, last week representatives from PSAC met with MPs from all parties to highlight the many problems that public servants continue to face. The Auditor General has confirmed that Phoenix is a disaster with no end in sight. Where is the government's plan? We know you appreciate them, but where's the plan? With the holidays and tax season approaching, many public servants will be in for another period of uncertainty and stress. Will the government commit to at least covering the tax implication for Phoenix heirs for all public servants?
Minister of Public Services.
Mr. Speaker, we appreciate that as the holidays approach and as the year-end approaches, it puts our public servants in an incredibly difficult position, given the realities of Phoenix. We are working on improving the technology. We are working on our governance. We are taking the steps necessary, both to resolve it in the short term, but also to have a state-of-the-art pay system in the long term. Mr. Speaker, we are doing what we can, and quite frankly, we are working very close with unions, because this problem will be solved by public servants for public servants.
Honourable member for Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, internet is not a luxury, but a necessity in today's world. While it's important to invest in infrastructure and support access to internet service, we also need to maintain equal access to information provided through it. Mr. Speaker, we need net neutrality. Just this past weekend, the member from Boss said we needed less net neutrality, and the member from Parry Sound, Muskoka, said he disagreed. Mr. Speaker, it seems official opposition can't take an position. Could the minister clearly reiterate the government position on net neutrality in Canada? Thank you.
Well, Minister of Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member from Richmond Hill for his question. And I was wondering if the leader of the official opposition can provide clarification on what their position is, because the member from Beauce, who's the official innovation critic, said one thing, and the member from Parry Sound, Muskoka, says he disagrees with them. But let me be clear, our government stands to support net neutrality, Mr. Speaker. We support an open internet. We support the CRTC framework for net neutrality, Mr. Speaker, because we know an open internet is critical for our economy and our democracy.
Honourable member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
Mr. Speaker, we don't have lapdogs on this side. We have people who think. Speaking of really important issues, Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are buying rusted-out fighter jets from Australia, even though the Defence Minister actually said that they would never buy used planes. We know these 80s era are rusted out because a 2012 Australian report said corrosion was so bad that the number of active flying days had to be cut. This is not a bucket of bolts, Mr. Speaker. This is a bucket of rusted-out bolts, Mr. Speaker. Why are they going back on their word?
Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, as I stated before, I appreciate the member's enthusiasm and for providing for the Canadian Armed Forces, but if this was true, they would have solved this problem a long time ago. Mr. Speaker, and today, along with my colleagues, I was very proud to stand up and announce the start of the competition, a full open competition to replace our fighter fleet with 88 fighter aircraft, Mr. Speaker, not 65 as the previous government had put out. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Muskoka.
Mr. Speaker, during the election campaign, this government promised that they would have new fighter jets in our country by 2021. Now the announcement today is we won't see them until at least 2025. That was their promise, Mr. Speaker. It had nothing to do with the previous government. That was their promise. Why don't they move ahead immediately to have a real procurement so we can get some real fighter jets instead of this bucket of bolts from Australia?
Honourable Minister of Public Services and Procurement.
Mr. Speaker, today is a good day for Canada. We announced that for the first time in 30 years, we're going to make a significant investment in the Royal Canadian Air Force. First of all, Mr. Speaker, we announced the start of the process for a full fleet replacement that will have fighter jets in place between 2025 and 2030. And in the meantime, we are supplementing our existing fleet with an interim CF-18 purchase from Australia. Thank you.
Order. Canadians tell me frequently how much they're fed up with people heckling in this place, so I'd ask members to keep that in mind and have a little respect for this institution. The
Honourable Member for Shelburne-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister wants to buy these Australian fighter planes that date back to the 1980s, whereas the Australians themselves have decided they should be replaced. We don't have a capacity deficit, and the last thing we need is to have this spending folly from a government that has lost control over its finances. Even the minister says he doesn't want to buy these old clunkers.
They seriously replaced our fighters a long time ago. We do have a capability gap, Mr. Speaker. We cannot meet our NORAD and NATO commitments simultaneously. Hence the reason why we will be supplementing our fleet. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, we're launching a full competition, an open competition to replace the entire fleet with 88 new aircraft. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Député de Shelburne-Haute-Saint-Charles.
The Honourable Member, Mr. Speaker, I think it's just, I don't know, I guess the Minister of Defence believes what he says, but no one else does. They're going to pay $500 million to buy these flying rust buckets. Even Alan Huff said that the government, that we had a capacity deficit. They'll be spending this money when we'll start getting the new planes in 2021-2030. We've had our cyclones and others. It seems that the Canadian government has only contempt for our armed forces.
Mr. Speaker, as I stated, the capability gaps. Somebody talking about other capability gaps, Mr. Speaker. They're joint supply ships. If you don't fix the capability gaps, it turns into a capability loss. That's exactly what has happened with the previous government when they allowed our joint supply ships and didn't replace them properly, Mr. Speaker. With our new defence policy, Mr. Speaker, and a fully funded defence policy, we're going to make sure that our men and women in the Canadian Armed Forces are well looked after. Thank you.
The Honourable Député d'Hochelaga.
The Honourable Member for Hochelaga. Madame Boisvert is a retired citizen of Hochelaga. She retired in 2016 from the CRA. On June 15, she received a payment by mistake and is now being asked to pay back the total payment, even though she paid deductions. We have been trying to get a hold of someone at Phoenix, but we can't even get an acknowledgement of receipt. When will the minister help this citizen admit that the pay system is rotten? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, we're doing our best to improve the situation of public servants who are suffering from the situation. We have people there who are helping workers. We hope that we'll be able to fix this problem as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, the Phoenix pay system has been a disaster for Parks Canada employees. Even while working hard to help Canadians celebrate Canada 150, they found themselves going months without proper paychecks. Adding even more injury to this insult, these workers have been without a contract since 2014. When will the government fix this Phoenix fiasco for our public servants, and when will they show Parks Canada employees respect by bringing a fair offer to the bargaining table?
Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, we have tremendous respect for the important work done by our hard-working public servants. And, Mr. Speaker, we've actually re-established a culture of respect for our public servants. When we formed government, all collective bargaining agreements had expired with Canadian public servants. Some of it had expired for 4 years. We negotiated in good faith to the point that today 90% of public servants in Canada have collective bargaining agreements. That has been done in good faith with our public servants, and we will continue to work hard to serve Canadians with our world-class public service.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, earlier in question period, the Prime Minister claimed that his minister had actually apologized to a disabled veteran's wife who was insulted by the minister. Now, Mr. Speaker, that turns out to simply be not true. The CBC is reporting that, in fact, he is attacking her for speaking out against him and has not apologized. So I want to give the Prime Minister an opportunity to correct the record. Will he admit that his minister has not apologized, and will he start showing Kim Davis the respect that she deserves?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Our government takes very seriously the responsibility of responding to Canadians' concerns and helping our veterans and helping Canadians with disabilities, and we will continue to. The minister responded to those particular allegations, and he apologized for earlier ones.
L'honorable député démocrate éclairable.
Monsieur le Président, au lieu de s'excuser, le bureau du ministre des Personnes handicapées s'est servi de capture d'écran de Facebook pour discréditer une citoyenne.
Apparemment, il y a un problème avec l'interprétation, mais ça...
Does the interpretation work now? It's working. The Honourable Member. Mr. Speaker, instead of apologizing, the Office of the Minister of Disabled Persons has used a Facebook screenshot to discredit a citizen. Let's look at the facts. The Minister for Disabled Canadians has insulted thalidomide survivors, was condescending with a young mother of a family in need. When has it become the norm to blame victims? When will the Minister show compassion? When will he assume his responsibilities and show himself worthy of his position?
Honourable Minister of Sports and Persons with Disabilities.
Speaker, our government is committed to improving the lives of veterans and their families, and we are aware of the concerns of Ms. Davis. That's why we've improved financial security. That's why we've improved the frontline services. That's why we've opened offices, and that's why we've improved caregiver benefit. I know I'm working on meeting with as many Canadians as we can to improve their lives. I'm also working on myself to improve interactions on a go-forward basis. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Lakeland.
But, Mr. Speaker, let's be clear about what's happened here. First, the minister said the Liberals have no duty to a disabled veteran's wife. Then, his staff tried to shame and discredit her when she spoke out by sending multiple screenshots of her personal Facebook posts in a veteran support group to media. So instead of being compassionate, this minister launched a taxpayer-funded political attack on a veteran's wife. Why did this minister order his staff to publicly humiliate Kim Davis instead of telling them to do their jobs and help veterans and their families? And why is the PM okay with it?
Honourable Minister of Sport and Persons with Disabilities.
Mr. Speaker, I met with Kim Davis some 2 years ago, and there I thanked her and her husband for their tremendous service to our country. I went through the fact that our government was increasing financial security, that our government was opening offices, that our government was improving their lives, and our government was going to improve the outcome of the caregiver benefit. These were a result of direct conversation with veterans and their families, and I, too, remember specifically thanking Ms. Davis, particularly for her and her family's service to the country, and I told her that we would work as hard as we could to benefit both her and her family.
Well, member for Mount Royal.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last Sunday, we celebrated the International Day of Human Rights, which marks the adoption by the United Nations Assembly of the Declaration, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
This House on the very important work she is doing to promote and protect human rights in Canada.
The Minister of Justice.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank my honourable colleague, the member from Mount Royal, for his question.
This week, along with my colleagues, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Minister of Canadian Heritage, I had the honour to host the first summit on human rights with my colleagues from the provinces and territories, the first summit in almost 30 years. Meeting with civil society and Indigenous leaders, we discussed how we can work together to ensure that Canada continues to comply with its international human rights obligations, as well as to ensure that we remain a leader in the world with respect to human rights.
Honourable member for Calgary-Nose Hill.
Women who have undergone female genital mutilation suffer infections, difficult urination and childbirth, pain during intercourse, and more. Raising awareness of FGM is a core part of the fight against it, and that's why it's listed in Canada's Citizenship Guide as a practice that Canada doesn't tolerate. No one can put nuance around the violent removal of a woman's clitoris, and if they try to, we shouldn't listen to them. So will the Minister end his consultations and decide today that warnings about FGM belong in Canada's Citizenship Guide?
Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, I agree with the member opposite that FGM is an abhorrent practice and is against the laws of Canada. I can assure members of this House that the new guide will reflect Canada's diversity and laws, including the laws on gender-based violence. It will highlight and include in a better way than the previous government visible minorities, LGBTQ2 communities, the contributions of women, Francophone communities, and Indigenous peoples. We will listen to the experts. We will produce and introduce a non-partisan guide, unlike the previous government.
Honourable member for Essex.
In Essex, my office has been busy trying to help the many people who haven't been paid because of the Phoenix pay system debacle. In one case, an employee was hired in 2015 and has worked so hard for this government that she's been promoted twice. But not only does she have more responsibility and a heavier workload, she hasn't been properly compensated in over 2 years and is owed over $12,000 in back pay. It's disgraceful. Liberals keep telling my office that the case is under third-party escalation, but there have been no changes and absolutely no help for this woman. When will this minister stop blaming Conservatives and fix this shameful mess that the Liberals have made?
Hear, hear. Honourable Minister of Public Services.
Mr. Speaker, we are completely committed to resolving Phoenix, and fixing this is my #1 priority. Make no mistake, this was mishandled from the beginning when it was treated like a cost-cutting measure instead of the complex business transformation initiative that it should have been treated as. Mr. Speaker, we are getting to the bottom of the technological and governance and policy mix-ups that have happened, or mishaps that happened because of the decisions made by the previous government, and I can assure you that we are on top of this.
Honourable member for Niagara Centre. Order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today marks the 10th anniversary since the motion on Jordan's principle was unanimously passed in this House. It highlighted the need for a child-first principle when it came to jurisdictional disputes involving the care of First Nations children. The previous government completely ignored this motion, failed to take action, and in doing so, First Nations children continued to be forgotten. Can the Honourable Minister of Indigenous Services please update this House as to what is being done on Jordan's principle?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable member from Niagara Centre for his question. 10 years ago today in this House, a motion was passed in honour of Jordan River Anderson, a First Nations child who was denied access to care because of jurisdictional disputes. After almost a decade of inaction, we are making sure that no First Nations child goes through what Jordan did. To this date, I'm pleased to report that we have approved 29,000 requests for care at an approval rate of over 99%. We will make sure that every First Nations child has access to the care they need.
The Honourable member for Medicine Hat, Cardston Warner.
Mr. Speaker, media reports suggest that there are up to 100,000 Canadians on the no-fly list. This government is silent on the actual number of innocent Canadians impacted. Canadians, including children, on the no-fly list face repeated travel hassles despite being cleared time and again by federal agencies. After 2 years, we have a lot of Liberal promises but little action. Will this minister finally commit to a real, immediate and fair redress system so that parents can travel with their children this Christmas?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the research reports today are highly speculative, but the point is simply this. We are dealing with a flawed system
that was implemented about 10 years ago by the previous government. And we are trying very hard to fix that system. It requires new legislation, new regulations, and a new computer system built from the ground up. The first step, the legal authority, is contained in Bill C-59, and I'm sure all members of Parliament will want to vote for that legislation.
Honorable
member for Pierre Boucher, Les Patriotes, Perchel. Mr. Speaker, it's Christmas shopping season, but there are businesses whose sales will drop this year. There are more and more people buying online. It seems that business people in stores have to follow the same rules, but online it's different. They don't have to. Quebec business has to pay its tax, but foreign business doesn't have to. If we let this continue, it'll kill all our shops and stores. Why is the Canadian government working against our own businesses?
The Honourable Minister of Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, we've been very clear that e-commerce is critical to our economy. Overall, we're investing in small businesses. That's why we reduced the tax rate for small businesses. We're making sure we're also investing in innovation to create opportunities for small businesses to grow and scale so they can provide more opportunities and more jobs. That's why the unemployment rate dropped from 7% to 6.4%, Mr. Speaker. That's why over 600,000 jobs have been created. We're focused on job creation and growth and better outcomes for consumers, Mr. Speaker.
Député de Repentigny.
The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, 72% of Quebecers and the government of Quebec, as well as our artists, producers, unions, everyone is against the Netflix free pass provided by the Heritage Minister. It's our culture which is in danger with this precedent, except that we saw yesterday when the Finance Minister was at this meeting of Finance Ministers, no one wanted to broach the subject. So is the Heritage Minister endangering our distinct culture in the name of Canadian consensus? The Honourable Minister, our government recognizes the importance of protecting culture, and this is why we are taking concrete action, more than $1 billion, the greatest investment in 30 years, in our creative industries, in protecting and supporting production and content in French and in English. We've also had the courage to modernize our system, because the other policies are before the Internet, and we're also updating our Broadcasting Act to protect these industries.
Members, the presence in the gallery of a delegation of Ministers of Justice from across Canada. The Honourable Andrew Parsons, Minister of Justice, Public Safety and Attorney General for the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. The Honourable Tracy Ann McPhee, Minister of Justice and Attorney General for Yukon. The Honourable Louis Siebert, Minister of Justice and Attorney General for the Northwest Territories. And the Honourable Jeannie Hlawak, Minister of Justice for Nunavut. I wish to advise members that I've received notice from the Secretary to the Governor-General and Herald Chancellor, December 12, 2017. Mr. Speaker, I have the honour to inform you that the Right Honourable Julie Payette, Governor-General of Canada, will proceed to the Senate chamber today, the 12th day of December 2017, at 5:15 p.m. with the purpose of giving royal assent to certain bills of law. Yours sincerely, Stephen Wallace. J'ai reçu un message.
I've received a message from the Secretary-General of the Governor-General, the Chancellor of Arms, December 12, 2017. Mr. Speaker, I have the honour to notify you that the Right Honourable Julie Payette, Governor-General of Canada, will proceed to the Senate chamber today, December 12, 2017, at 5:15 p.m. in order to give royal assent to certain bills of law. Sincerely, Mr. Speaker, Stephen Wallace.
The Honourable Order. I'd encourage colleagues members to take their conversations into the lobbies, and I know those are important and valuable conversations, but I know they'll want to do that elsewhere. The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Justice, I would like to table in both official languages a charter statement on Bill C-66, an act to establish a procedure for expunging certain historically unjust convictions and to make related amendments to other acts. And while I'm on my feet, I want to express the appreciation of the government to all members on all sides of the House who have facilitated the prompt procedure of this piece of legislation through the House of Commons.
The day.
Government Orders, Government Bills, Commons, resuming debate at third reading stage of Bill C-24, an act to amend the Salaries Act and to make a consequential amendment to the Financial Administration Act.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton West has 2 minutes remaining in his speech.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to start off a bit where I was before I got cut off by this wonderful question period. I want to go back to what had me screaming serenity now, and that was a quote from the House Leader regarding eliminating the regional ministries, the economic ministries, and was regional expertise with national expertise as a way for it to work better together to create a synergy to take a whole government approach. Now, I've criticized this bill about a bill being about nothing, but one of the things that kind of codifies what the government's already done, which is eliminate the regional offices of